Take it away, fellas.
If you grew up in the early 2010s and were into My Little Pony, you might have been exposed to the many fan works that wound up online. From music, to fan fiction, to literally anything you can think of, bronies couldn't be stopped. One of these genres of pony fan content was fan animations. While some are pretty goofy and could be considered parodies, the more iconic ones took the world and characters of the My Little Pony show and made them something all their own. I remember having a lot of fun with some of these, while others, not so much. You really had to be there. If you weren't, don't worry, because today, right here, right now, we're gonna take a look back at some of the most well-known My Little Pony fan animations, from the funny to the downright disgusting. Let's start with an absolute classic. But it's not a classic in necessarily a good way. Dusk's Dawn has the distinction of being the first full-length fan-made episode of My Little Pony, coming out in October 2012. And being the very first of its kind, it's not the most professional. The animation was made by a group that went by Project Interlude. According to their DeviantArt description and their now defunct website, Interlude was founded to quench the fandom's thirst for new MLP content between FIM's second and third seasons. The way they did this was by making their own MLP-inspired episode, featuring a new story and original characters. A decision which would prove to be good for them in the long run, because by only using a few official pony names or settings, there was no risk of legal action by Hasbro, who have a reputation in the fandom for being strict about copyright. And yes, we're gonna talk about that. In terms of the people working on Dusk's Dawn, it was a very amateur project. Animators, voice actors, and other crew members were all volunteers, with a large portion being self-taught as well. This, combined with a production time of 9 months at most, created a final product that was less than polished. Watching it now, I agree with a lot of the criticisms that people had for it. The plot is kind of confusing, and things just sort of happen. The characters and lore aren't explained enough for people to get it in one watch. You know what it reminded me of? It kinda reminded me of Dune, because both of them, they have this royal family with a son, the prince character, and there's also some kind of magic thing, and a lot of lore that's only vaguely explained in dialogue. I want to guess that when they made this, they had an idea of all the plot points and story ideas, characters, all that in their head, but couldn't quite get it down in a way where people would easily understand what's going on. I can imagine the way this looked in their head was way better. And of course, you can't bring up Dusk's Dawn without talking about the voice acting.
So cool! Cold even. I hope nobody will notice I left that hill snowy during last year's wrap-up.
Despite the episode being in English, a lot of the people working on this were from Europe. For North American viewers, these performances were pretty uncanny, but let's all just remember, for a few of these voice actors, English wasn't their first language, and here, from what I can tell, they're giving it all they've got. Another thing to note about the voice acting, there's this kid who just turned 9 in the episode, but his voice sounds like this.
Illusions. Dark powers? What a shame.
After its release, the voices and many other aspects of the animation were put on blast in the comments of the original YouTube upload. People called it the room of brony animations, comparing the so bad it's good production value and the confusing accents of the characters. Some other commenters said that they appreciated the effort that went into making it. Some were more harsh. Project Interlude actually took the negative reception to Dusk's Dawn pretty well. Shortly after the episode, they released an update on their channel where they thanked everyone for their feedback and announced a new series of shorts that would explain the world and characters more in depth. Though nothing came of this. To this day, the only thing that exists on their channel is the original episode, some animation tests, and this one video released for 420. It would have been nice to see the team improve and redeem themselves in the eyes of the fandom, but I guess some things aren't meant to be. While Dusk's Dawn was a fan-made episode that fans didn't really care for, that doesn't mean that all fan-made MLP episodes would be met with the same negative response. Take for example, what some might consider to be the antithesis to Dusk's Dawn. Double Rain Boom was released in 2013, a little over a year after Dusk's Dawn was announced. Similar to Dusk's Dawn, the project was a labor of love by fans, but there were a few key differences between the two. This project actually used the characters and setting from FIM, and even got Hasbro's permission to do so. This is such a little known piece of trivia and crazy to think about if you know how Hasbro operates. A reason for Hasbro lending the team the rights might have been because this was just the creator's own senior thesis project from college. For those who are unaware, if you study animation at any sort of college, at the end of your senior year, you have to make your own animation from scratch. Just look up senior thesis animation on YouTube, and you'll get an idea. Besides the creator, Zachary Rich, the crew featured other students from Savannah College of Art and Design, and various other MLP fans lending talents over the internet. The crew amassed over 100 members, which made it feel professional to a lot of people. Understandably, the project built up a lot of hype from bronies. Did the animation live up to the hype? Does it still hold up? Well, it manages to imitate the style of FIM pretty okay. If you're looking for complaints from me, the animation is kind of jerky at times, and these obviously aren't the same puppet rigs that they use at the animation studio for the show, so there's this off quality to them. It's like the Uncanny Valley effect, but for pony animation. It looks almost like the show, but clearly isn't. Same for everything else. The writing, voice acting, music even, not exactly spot on, but it's clearly imitating a certain thing. They also really pile on the references and cameos. It sometimes gets a little distracting. I could not believe my eyes when the very plot-relevant troll face showed up around 3 minutes in. But I need to stress this. This was made by college students who not only had a passion for MLP, but for animation. There's no doubt that the crew members who worked on this would later find actual jobs in the animation industry. It's impressive that a bunch of these guys came together to make something that's almost on the level of an official production. A little after Double Rain Boom, in early 2014, the official website was wiped and featured an ad for the creator's upcoming new project, True Tale. Though not as well known, True Tale is still being worked on today from what I can tell, with a completed Kickstarter and an active Twitter page. Everything else from the Double Rain Boom days seems to be gone too. Even their Tumblr page, which as of 2016 is this. If you've seen Double Rain Boom and are watching this video right now, there's obviously something about it that I haven't mentioned yet. If you know, you know. It's a really confusing choice and not a good one in my opinion. Considering the type of project that this is, it's cool that they were able to do it, but it should have been mentioned in the promo material. It just comes out of nowhere and derails the whole thing. Speaking of derailment, how about that? How about that weather? It's like April right now, but where I live, there's still the possibility of snow. Snow? Snowdrop? Snowdrop, in my eyes, is another classic. Though only half the length of the other full episodes, it manages to deliver a cute little story. It's kind of an origin myth for the winter season, taking place thousands of years before friendship is magic. This blind filly named Snowdrop has to make a gift for the princesses, and comes up with a thing that's like a wishing star, but for snow. I don't really get it, but the animation is sweet. This feels like a bedtime story that some older pony would tell their kid. The animation was made by a group called Silly Philly Studios, or SFS for short. They were active in the MLP fandom for a bit, before switching to Undertale and Pokemon stuff. In 2015, they stopped producing content for YouTube altogether, due to changes in YouTube's AdSense policy. After YouTube started giving more ad revenue to longer videos, shorter animations that took a long time to produce, like Snowdrop, weren't really viable. For those who aren't aware, the MLP fandom has a habit of taking background characters and turning them into fan favorites. Take Derpy Hooves, a random background pony who was accidentally given a lazy eye. Fans took this character and ran with the idea of her, making art, fanfiction, etc. Other examples include Dr. Hooves, Lyra Heartstrings, Bonbon/Sweetie Drops, among others. The character Button Mash is another example of this. He originally appeared in the episode Hearts and Hooves Day, donning his iconic propeller beanie while playing an arcade game. Since he was a gamer, there's no doubt that bronies in 2013 would take a liking to the character. He was later featured on the Tumblr blog Ask the Crusaders, where he and the character Sweetie Belle were shipped together. In 2013, the artist behind the Ask the Crusaders blog, Jan Animations, started making animated shorts featuring the character. The first big one was a music video called Don't Mine at Night. This one features Button and Sweetie Belle playing Minecraft. and is set to a parody of Katy Perry's Last Friday Night. The song is actually a parody of a parody though, as it's based on a different Don't Mind at Night. As of today, this video has amassed over 50 million views, with a lot of the comments on the video being from people who watched it when they were younger. Other commenters seem to also be amazed at how well Jan Animations captured the style of the original show. His other pony animations are like this, arguably matching the movement and feel of Friendship is Magic better than any of the other ones I've talked about thus far. This would come with a price, however. In March of 2014, Jan Animations and his crew were hit with a cease and desist letter from Hasbro's third-party legal counsel regarding the use of Button Mash and other MLP characters in his animations. In a video, he talks about his experiences with Hasbro's legal team, and how he went back and forth with them for almost a year before they ghosted him altogether. The final verdict was that he couldn't make any more animations featuring MLP characters, nor could he re-upload any of them. Obviously, re-uploads of them do exist, but not on the original channel. But let's talk about the main event, Button's Adventures. This was a pilot for a potential Button Mash miniseries. There's no real story in this, just a series of vignettes featuring Button getting into wacky shenanigans in his house and around Ponyville. Personally, I think your enjoyment of this particular animation hinges on one thing, that being if you find Button Mash as a character funny or endearing, which I don't. I don't know. Looking back on this, he's kind of annoying. All the jokes in this just revolve around him crying or being obnoxious. It's giving me Caillou vibes. But Button Mash is a kid. He's definitely written that way because that's how kids are sometimes. And that's not to say it's irredeemable or even bad, just not my thing. At the convention GalaCon 2014, they showed a storyboarded scene from a potential episode 2 of Button's Adventures. This one would have introduced Button's older brother Gibson, and features some not-so-child-friendly language. It's unknown if this one would have been in the same style as the pilot, or would have had a more coherent story. In 2018, after the whole cease and desist incident had blown over, Button Mash had a final send-off with Game Over, an original song performed by Button's old voice actor. The accompanying music video has a lot of imagery related to Button Mash, but cleverly enough doesn't show the character at all. Button's Adventures was just a fun little thing that tried to make people smile. Well, it's not my thing exactly, there's something similar that to me is a lot more enjoyable. Flufflepuff Tales is a series of animations featuring this weird pink fluffy pony that goes around and just does random stuff. The humor has that whole derp face, kawaii potato, lolcat quality that you don't really see anymore. It really brings me back to 2013. The movements are simple and there's almost no dialogue, and I think that works with the sort of LOL so random thing they go for. Like a lot of popular things in the MLP community, Flufflepuff herself originated on a Tumblr Ask blog. Dan vs. FIM was a blog featuring comics with MLP characters interacting with the title character from the show Dan vs. The shows weren't really anything alike, but they aired on the same network, so of course there was an overlap in their fan bases. Out of the Dan vs. FIM blog spawned the character Flufflepuff, who would go on to star in her own comics on a separate blog, Ask Flufflepuff. That spawned a series of animated shorts, and the rest, as they say, is history. Aspects from the Tumblr blogs would regularly appear in the shorts, like Flufflepuff living in Twilight's library, and the relationship between Flufflepuff and the villain Queen Chrysalis. The series continued up until 2017, which for some is a long time, considering how many MLP creators moved to other fandoms in around 2014. In around 2018, the creator made a long post on the Flufflepuff blog. In it, he noted a few issues he had with the Brony fandom, and said how making Flufflepuff for all those years left him stagnated as an artist. This was because he was copying the style of another show for so long without really branching out. And branch out he did, because in 2020, they released a teaser for Floof and Friends. Floof and Friends was a reboot of Flufflepuff Tales that follows the relationship between Flufflepuff, now called Floof I presume, and Queen Chrysalis, now renamed Chrissy. It's more based on the humanized Equestria Girls version of Flufflepuff rather than the original pony version, but that's what the creator preferred, as that was part of the story he wanted to tell. So far, no new episodes of Floof and Friends have been uploaded besides the first one, but there's always the possibility of more in the future. If you grew up with the original Flufflepuff and haven't seen this yet, I recommend it. It's a nice watch. While a lot of My Little Pony fan animations are notable enough to get their own segment, there are a lot that were one-offs or don't have a big history behind them. There's the classic pony sliding into a box. This is exactly what it sounds like. Ponies slide into a box. The song that plays in this always reminded me of like a Rhythm Heaven game. Ponies Sliding into a Box Gone Wrong featured the scene of Princess Celestia sliding into a box of nails, with something I probably can't show happening. This Gone Wrong version of the animation was made by Two Snacks. Two Snacks is best known for the series Two Best Sisters Play. Two Best Sisters Play uses audio from the YouTube Let's Play channel Two Best Friends Play and animates the characters Celestia and Luna over it. Kind of like a Game Grumps animated, but also not like a Game Grumps animated at all. In fact, if you do want to watch a pony version of Game Grumps animated, you definitely can, as many different people have edited MLP clips over Game Grumps audio. I remember seeing people make original MLP animations with Oni Plays clips too, but I can't find any of those, only an edit. There's also Friendship is Manly, which is just, yeah. SFM pony animations were also considerably popular. SFM stands for Source Filmmaker, a program which could be used to make 3D animations and renders. This one style of 3D pony model became synonymous with the program. To fans, this was the definitive version of 3D ponies, before the switch to CGI with the newest generation of the franchise. In fact, seeing the newer CGI ponies in the Source Filmmaker style is beyond weird. Before the Equestria Girls series of specials was a thing, a group called Skilldraw made something called MLH, or My Little Human. These would be reanimated scenes from the show featuring human designs for all the pony characters. In my opinion, these capture the art style of the ponies better than the actual human versions. These have more in common with the pony designs and just generally look cuter. Friendship Was Magic was an animation uploaded in 2012 by the artist TRY, which shows an alternate universe where the villains in Friendship is Magic win and everything goes wrong. A lot of the comments on this one talk about how they were traumatized by it as a kid. In fact, there are a lot of these that traumatize people. I've heard so many stories about kids who would just search up My Little Pony and find these not-so-child-friendly videos. And most notorious, some of the most grotesque and violent MLP animations were made by one artist. This artist was Mr. Davy. Mr. Davy is a figure shrouded in mystery. I've mentioned him in my MLP Iceberg series. There's literally nothing about him that's been confirmed to be true, only vague claims. He might have worked for Hasbro or Cartoon Network. He seemingly logged off of everything one day and just never came back. He started out with this animation called Gilda Wants You to Shut Up, which has Gilda the Griffin singing a song by the band Korn and manhandling a few of the other characters. Next was Cupcakes HD. Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie are just having a good old time before Rainbow gets knocked out by Pinkie. I'm sure you know the rest, but if not, I made a video covering the actual fanfiction this is based on, and many more traumatizing fanfictions, so go check that out. Derpy Gets Pranked is another one of his that not a lot of people talk about, and it's pretty short. Derpy gets an anvil dropped on her head, but instead of happening like it would in a cartoon, there's blood and other stuff. Now, Smile HD is probably his most well-known animation. It starts out innocent enough. We've got a remix of the Smile song from the show playing in the background. Pinkie Pie's running through the fields towards Twilight and friends. She jumps into the air, and then I can't really show what happens next or even describe it in detail, so I'm gonna have to recreate it for you guys. So Pinkie Pie punches Twilight in the head. It's so hard, in fact, that her head comes clean off. Applejack and Rarity look on in terror, right? Pinkie comes after Rarity, who doesn't stand a chance, out in one blow. Then Applejack, who's like happy that Rarity got like murderfied, Pinkie comes after her. Kicked into a tree, gets wailed on for a bit. And then Rainbow Dash, from up above, sees this, and she's not having any of it. Sonic Rainboom kicks Pinkie Pie in the face, slow motion while the bridge of the song plays. Zoom in on Pinkie's brain, where there's like a meter that goes from green to red, and then there's a big flash of energy, and Pinkie Pie goes Super Saiyan. So big beam of energy. Pow. But Rainbow Dash, she dodges it. Kicks her up into the air, down onto the ground. Rainbow Dash is out. One blow. All her guts come out of her mouth. It's really gross. She's done. Rainbow Dash is done. Pinkie Pie is still standing. But then Fluttershy appears. Does another big beam of energy at Fluttershy. Bam. But she's still standing. She's still standing. She's strong. Comes after Pinkie. They're in the air too, fighting. It looks like Fluttershy is gonna come out on top. But uh-oh, Fluttershy's down, and Pinkie Pie does a spirit bomb and destroys the whole world. Basically, that's what happens. Of course, there's a lot more blood in the actual thing. Apparently, Mr. Davy was also planning a Rainbow Factory animation, similar to his Cupcakes one, though Rainbow Factory has a more complex story, so I don't know how that one would have been adapted. Another animation series that scared a lot of people was...
If I died tomorrow, what would I most be remembered for? Needlessly vulgar My Little Pony parodies?
Oh, that's terrible!
Pony.mov, or Pony.mov, was a series of videos created by Max G, aka Hot Diggity Demon. It's typical 2000s, early 2010s Newgrounds humor, but it's the creator's reputation that really drives the way that people think about these. Hot Diggity Demon is notorious for being an edgelord and making tasteless stuff to get a reaction out of people. Honestly, I don't think I should get into it too much because I don't want the controversy surrounding this guy spilling into the comments of this video. As a series, I think it has its moments, and I understand why this is one that some people aren't gonna want to revisit. Making pony parodies and being controversial isn't a one-time occurrence though. Case in point, if you know, you know. And if you don't, go watch this video. It explains more about the whole thing than I ever could. Animated James was a prolific content creator in the early 2010s who'd make animations about MLP and other properties. Also some original stuff. But the videos that a lot of MLP fans remember from back in the day were his Sonic vs. MLP series. These were a personal favorite of mine, so I just want to go through them one by one. The series began with Sonic vs. Rainbow Dash in 2012. A very simple animation where the two characters race, while accidentally laying waste to members of their respective series. This was followed up by a short Christmas animation where Sonic and Rainbow Dash put up a Christmas tree. Next was Tails vs. Twilight, which came out in early 2013. This one incorporates more dialogue and focuses on this little magic versus technology debate the two have. That's weird though, because in this video, Tails says he doesn't believe in magic, but like, come on. How many Sonic things have there been where magic clearly exists? But the setups in these are at least different every time, so I gotta give him that. Amy vs. Pinkie Pie came next in mid-2013. This one picks up on a plot point from the first one of the race between Sonic and Rainbow Dash ending in a tie. Completing the series was Knuckles vs. Applejack, which came out on September 8th, 2014. This one is the most plot-heavy, where all the others have the same vibe as like a screw attack death battle. This one has twists and turns, the story feels like a cut-down version of this one MLP episode called Fall Weather Friends. The art in these is really simple, but the style has a nice charm to it. The line art is done in this gross-looking flash brush, and lines intersect all the time for no reason. There's a lot of tweening that looks awkward at points. I know it sounds like these are negative qualities, but to me it's seriously inspirational that in spite of things like that, you can see the effort in these shine through. The posing gets really expressive as these go on, and there's more interesting stuff with different backgrounds, some pretty dynamic shots as well. I'd rather have something that doesn't look completely polished than something that takes shortcuts to look more professional, but ends up not really standing out. Today, all of these have at least 20 million views, with the original Sonic vs. Rainbow Dash amassing 70 million. I loved these as a kid, and I was always mad he never made Rouge the Bat vs. Rarity. Maybe one day when I learn how to animate. Of course, you can't forget the other pony animations this guy did. There were a few music videos to popular Brony songs. Tavi and Scratch takes the idea of the song's accompanying artwork of the ponies Vinyl, Scratch, and Octavia on a deserted island and stretches it out into a 2-minute short. Beyond Your Garden is pretty surreal, feels like the kind of thing you'd make up in your head while listening to a song. the Brony music artist Black Griffin and Michelle Creeber, who voices Apple Bloom on Friendship is Magic, did a cover of Beat It by Michael Jackson. This inspired another animated music video by James, which combines canon MLP characters with famous pony sonas and OCs. This one is a lot of fun. Animations like this that feature a lot of Brony figures would continue to be a thing and are still around today. I think I've got a large enough following at this point to be featured in one of these, so A lesser-known MLP crossover by Animated James was If Bo Burnham Was on MLP, released in early 2014. The whole thing was completely lost on 10-year-old me, because at the time I had no idea who Bo Burnham was. Colgate's dentistry ad takes us back in time to when people called the character Minuet by her fanon name. Like the Bo Burnham one, this one's pretty short and came out a little after Twilight vs. Pinky. I remember a scene in this where the pony Sweetberry shows up and says she only brushes her teeth with a bottle of Jack, but apparently that was some other animation with Minuet called A Day at the Dentist. A weird Mandela effect, but only for me, I guess. Winter's Effed Up came out in December of 2014, a parody of the winter wrap-up song from Friendship is Magic. James was known for doing original music with some of his animations, but surprisingly this was the only song of his that was combined with a pony-related music video. Love is a Yummy S'more was another music video, this one featuring a parody of the song from the movie Frozen because it was early 2015. Main 6 Cartoons features the main 6 fighting over the TV remote, with all of them wanting to watch some different current cartoon like Rick and Morty, Steven Universe, We Bare Bears, or Starverses, because it was late 2015. The Brony Polka was a medley of MLP fan songs that James did in 2014, and while it wasn't originally accompanied with an animation, another animator besides James, Viva Reverie, did a music video for the full 8-minute song. Understandably, it took a long time to make, and it looks amazing. James contributed a lot to the MLP fandom over the years, and his stuff has left a lasting impact on people even today. Comments from some of his more popular videos talk about how nostalgic they are for his animations. The tale of Animated James the person isn't a happy one, with him getting involved in some pretty gross stuff, and ultimately just disappearing from the internet.
So, I suppose so, yes. But gently. I'm still not sure if the potion... works.
Of course, MLP fan animations are still a thing today. Creators like Alumix and Forgalorga are uploading new pony animations as recently as last year. Two Snacks is still going, and not to mention all the other new creators who have dropped into the scene. But I'm sad to say, we'll never have a golden age of fan-made pony content like we did in 2013. With the new generation of MLP, Hasbro is stricter than ever about copyright, and like we talked about in the Snowdrop segment, animation on YouTube isn't that viable anymore. While some of the animations we talked about today are fun or have an interesting history, others are weirdly shocking or rife with controversy. Old school Brony stuff can always be a nostalgic good time, but you always eventually end up on that dark side of the fandom. Hasbro's mostly abandoned the Brony audience in their marketing, now aiming most of their social media campaigns at middle-aged moms, maybe as a result of all the adult MLP material that got into the hands of kids? Who's to say? That's a discussion for another video. As always, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Click on that little notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new videos or live streams. Also, don't forget to follow me on my socials for updates, art, or just whatever I feel like posting. Shout out to my Act 2 supporters on Patreon. Alex Kincaid, Johnny Punchfist, A Kawaii Dragon, Keaton Cryer, Cascadiarch, Bad Bessie, Damian, Booth Taste, Marshmallow, Zeflo, and Goose Nerd. If you want to support me on Patreon, go to the link in the description, search up patreon.com/chunks. I can't think of a better outro, so until next time, goodbye.
Shooby-doo, shoop, shoopy-doo.